Hello there, and welcome to this shorthand training session. We'll just wait a few minutes for everyone to join, and then we'll get started. Hi everyone. Just going to do a little announcement just so you can check that you can hear me and everything. I've also enabled the chat function in case anyone would like to add anything in there as well. So you've got two ways of asking questions. You've got the Q&A function and you've also got the chat function as well. Always like to do just a little bit of a sound check to make sure everyone can hear me okay. So if you could put your name and maybe sort of where you're calling from in the world and your company, it'd be great. It lets me know you can hear me okay and the sound is working. But it also means that we can see kind of who is with us on this session as well today. So I'll wait for that to come through on the chat box and then we'll get started. Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much to those of you who have put your name and info about yourself into the chat box. Great, let's get started. I know that you can all hear me okay. So, firstly, thank you so much for joining this shorthand training session. This session will last 90 minutes in total. For most of the session, I'll be talking, and then there will be time for some question and answers at the end as well. But if you think of any questions while I'm talking, please do pop it into the chat or into the Q&A. I will keep an eye on that, and if I can weave in any answers while I'm talking, I will try my level best to do so. So this training session will firstly cover what shorthand is and why it's used and trusted by the world's iconic brands. Then we'll talk about how to use shorthand and best practice tips and tricks. So I'll be showing you a lot of what to do in shorthand, but also what not to do in shorthand as well. So you should be able to walk away from today with a really good indication of how to use all of our different section types, what they're designed for, um, and sort of best practice tips and media, how to optimize all of your media and media sizes and things like that as well. I'll also follow up with links today. So we'll go through some stories as well and section types. We'll also talk about support documents. So there'll be plenty of links that you can have a look at in your own time as well. Great. So, firstly, what is shorthand and what is it used for? So, shorthand is the tool for writers and creators to craft cinematic content at speed. It allows you to delight your readers with engaging content while hitting your targets and easily measure them with shorthand built in analytics, or you can add any third party tracking that you may want to use or already use into shorthand as well. You can create either single stories or multi story sites for a range of use cases, such as digital magazines, reports, feature stories, content hubs, annual reports, sports marketing, internal communications, and so much more. So many different use cases there. So I'm just going to pop over to our pricing page. We have a range of subscription plans to suit teams of every size. There's some of you today that are already signed up to a plan. There's some of you that are thinking about signing up to a plan. If you have any questions about any of our subscriptions, please do ask and I can point you in the right direction. A number of factors, such as the number of users and live stories that you have, the way you publish your stories, features, and the support that you receive from our team, will be shaped by your needs ultimately and the subscription plan that you choose. So, now going over to uh, just some example stories here. So our customers love shorthand because our editor is, hopefully you agree, intuitive and it delivers great results. So it's really allowing you to create your stories quickly at speed and also give that like ease of wow as well. So wowing your audience and moving them to action. So let's go through some examples together first. You can see or you can navigate to these example stories here at any time for yourself. You can scroll through these. These are lots of different examples. They'll go out to those stories so you can have a look at them. You can also have a look at kind of stories from particular use cases as well. So maybe if you work at not-for-profit, an NGO, you might want to see those, or if you're looking to create a data story, you might want to look at those. So really great place to come for this. Also, we do have a craft magazine. So we feature lots of tips and tricks on how to use shorthand, news about new features, and also some thought leadership in here as well. So if you would like to have this delivered to your inbox, I would definitely recommend signing up to our class craft newsletter, sorry, as well. And then that way you'll get lots of examples delivered to your inbox every 2 weeks, but you'll also be able to keep on top of all of our new releases as well. Uh, Also, just while we're looking at resources, we do have a shorthand community as well. So this is a great place to go to for sort of getting information from the Craft magazine, but again, also new features and connecting with other users of shorthand as well. But let's go back to those examples and look at a couple of particular examples together. So I mentioned that shorthand can be used for sports marketing. So here is a brilliant example by Arsenal Football Club about one of their fantastic players. And this story uses predominantly what we call our reveal sections and text over media sections to essentially sort of layer images over top of each other. So they've kind of created these designs externally from shorthand and then use shorthand to really sort of power the changeover with the scroll here. And there's some really wonderful examples of that image layering. At the bottom of this story, there's also a fantastic reveal where we look at the player as a very young boy, and then we sort of go and scroll to him as he looks currently. So I'll scroll down to that. It's a really great example of the reveal section and how you can use it to compare and contrast. Um, what I will do, as I mentioned, is send all of these links over so you can have a look through them in your own time as well. I would suggest having a look at maybe some of them on desktop, tablet, and mobile as well, because then you can see kind of how these different experiences play out on the different devices and how you get that great consistent experience across all the different devices, which is of course so important for audience engagement. So we're almost at that reveal section. Gallery here, and here we go. So we've got an image, and then we transition to him as he is looking now, and then they've also added that background as well. So really beautiful consistent design through the whole of this story. The next example I'd like to show you is much more of a sort of news feature example, so by Sky News here in the UK, about this news story. So we have some autoplay video here. So this is our, this is actually our one of our sections here where we've got the video in, and we kind of scroll that text over the top. And then this is a reveal section. So not only can you use the reveal section for like the compare and contrast between different images or effects upon images, but you can also use it to kind of track, um, sort of draw lines on a map as well. So kind of geographical importance there. And this is our background scrollmation section. And I know I'm kind of throwing these names at you, but of course what we're going to do is go into the editor very shortly and look at all of these sections together. Next up is more of a report example. So this is one by WWF. And this one is a really great example of the scroll point section, which I'll show you a bit later, which with the reveal section, it's about kind of multiple images or videos that you're layering up on top of each other as you scroll. With scroll points, it's about using one image, utilizing either one image, one infographic, and then what you're going to do is guide the reader around that image to different parts of it. And again, this one is kind of more of a, sort of a geographical importance, but then we're adding this supporting text to kind of provide that additional explainer as we scroll to the different points of interest on this page. And this is a really powerful section in terms of resourcing, because as a content team, you only have to create one image in order to create this experience. And everything within Shorthand, by the way, powers upon scroll. And that's really important because you're putting the reader into the driving seat of these stories. So they're very engaging. They produce higher engagement metrics than perhaps a standard content management system that you might be using, because you're able to build almost these really bespoke experiences, but using these section types that require no kind of web code experience necessary. Then we have this story by the Department of State in the US, which is more of a government comms story. Again, this is a really great example of the scroll points again. So that one section where you're then going to kind of scroll to different interest points on the image. But also what they do here is then they flip to a reveal section as well. And they've used a mixture of images, which we scroll on. So we scroll on these components in the image, and then they actually change to an autoplay video where they've then animated those as well. So again, they would have created this externally from Shorthand and they're putting it into Shorthand. So where this kind of thing is really powerful is where you've got that design there that's being created and then that's put into Shorthand. And if you need help on that kind of thing, the design aspect, sort of how to utilize Shorthand, our team can help with that. We're always here to provide guidance on how to use Shorthand in the best possible way. But without further ado, let's go into the training aspect of this. Let's look around the shorthand editor together and kind of provide some guidance on everything that you see when you log in. So this is my dashboard. As you can see, I have a number of stories that I've worked on at different times. I can create a new story by clicking up here, and on the left-hand side, I have a number of options. So I have a few different teams. I can access my stories, my collection sections, projects, and I can see my deleted items there. I can also access my settings, and because I'm the owner of this workspace, I am going to see more options such as billing and members and API tokens, etc. So I have kind of complete control over this workspace as I am the owner. So there's a few different permission levels that we have. We have workspace permissions, publishing permissions, and then also story permissions as well. So, if you are a large team using Shorthand, you're able to control the different permission structures in accordance to what your team is doing. So when you create a new story within Shorthand, you're met with, if you have more than one team, you'll be asked which team that you want to create that in. So I'm going to create that in my training team today. Then you'll be met with a couple of options here as well. So you can either start with a blank story and build it completely from scratch. You can import either from an existing web page or import from a PDF. And you can also decide whether you want to have auto layout on or off when you do that. So we have a built-in royalty-free image service, which I'll use quite a lot today to show you how that works. And you can have this on, and then OpenAI and also Unsplash images will be applied to the layout of your story to help provide some guidance on how that could be structured within Shorthand. What I would say about this is it's brilliant that you can, at a click of a button, add all of your content into Shorthand instantaneously. It's probably not going to, on most instances, deliver a story that is ready to be published immediately. You'll want to have a look at how those section types work, test it on the different devices, which I'll show you how to do in a little while. But you'll want to really think about, what is the narrative? What is my objective of this story? What am I looking to achieve? That's really important when you're building these kinds of stories. And some of those examples that I've shown today they've really, they've taken that mission on board. We also do have a number of templates as well. So as you can see, there are a number here, and they, as I mentioned, there's lots of different use cases that you can use Shorthand for, which is going to be very dependent on, what kind of industry you're working in, what kind of content team you are, and resourcing that you have, and also what your objective is going to be. If you do choose one of these templates, though, what happens when you click in, and let's have a look on this one, is all of the sections will be queued up on the left hand side here, so we can see this story is built for us. And this is sort of an about us page about a company, so it gives lots of ideas on sort of how you can build that sort of page using Shorthand. As we scroll through, we'll see these little identifiers at the top here. So at the top of every right hand side, we'll see what section type this is. So we can see that this one is a text over media. This one is also a text over media, and we can see how those kind of scroll upon each other to create the different effects. What I will just show as well is there is a reveal section in here, which is a little similar to one of the other examples that we looked at um, by the State Department example, where we have a mix of images that kind of layer on as we scroll, and then we transition to autoplay video. So it fades that video in, and then the video fades in again as well to kind of tell that story of traveling into space. So you could use this as a template, or any of the templates as a bit of a guide, as a bit of a starting point for your stories. And then what you can do is you can remove the text that's in here, and then, for example, add your own title. And then you can also change all of the imagery or videos in here as well and make it completely your own. What we're going to do today, though, is we are going to start with a blank story. Reason being is today the intention is to talk you through all of the different section types, how to use them, how not to use them, so you can be really clear on kind of what they're best for. So this is the editor now with just our two starting sections. So as a guide, we have the title section as a starting point, and then we have the text section afterwards. We are actually making a change at the moment so that you can start your stories with any section type. So that's something that we're working on at the moment. So soon there'll be more options for this starting guide. Also, if you would like to make some custom changes into Shorthand, for example, hiding the title section, if you have CSS and JavaScript are developer tools in your plan, then we can often make recommendations on that as well. But of course, one of the benefits of Shorthand is you don't need to know any code, but you can sort of use the CSS and JavaScript if you are working with developers, or if you want to partner closely with our team to inject custom code and kind of change some of the behavior of Shorthand or build custom features. So our first section is the title section, and then what I'm going to do is build the story top to bottom with a number of different sections and show you what all of these can do. So firstly, title section and text over media are very similar. This is where you can have large text placed over either a full screen image, a video, or a 3D image. Then we have the text section. This allows you to add a single column of text, two columns on desktop, but they'll be stacked on mobile. You can also add inline media and embed other third-party tools into this section as well. Then we have background scrollmation and scrollmation. So these two features are fantastic for creating flipbook animation because the way that they work is you have a text column with the background scrollmation. It has a full screen image in the background or multiple. And then if you have multiple images, they change as you scroll. And with the scrollmation, we have either a column of text on the left or right, and then a column with images on the left or right, depending on what you choose. On mobile, this will be stacked as well. And I'll show you kind of the differences between background scrollmation and where you might want to use those two differently. Then we have the reveal section. This is where you have a full screen image and they transition as you scroll. So you'd usually have multiple images or multiple videos in here, and then they will change as you go through. Then we have the grid section. This is where you can have either images, text, or a mixture of the both in a flexible sort of layout of columns and rows. Then we have scroll points. This is where you have one image that has multiple points of interest that change as you scroll. So you can kind of take the reader on a tour. Then we have media gallery, where you can create a gallery of images or videos. And there's a few different layout options that you can choose there. Then you have media, where you can have a full screen video or image, and then custom HTML if you'd like to inject your own code. So this might be useful for perhaps adding a form. And then we also have the collection section, which allows you to create a grid of links that links out to other either shorthand stories or it might be external links. So you could often use this as a call to action. We also have save sections and alternate styles, which we'll go through in a little bit more detail. But for now, we'll start editing our story. So this story is about skiing today. So much of those images and media will be about the mountains. So I've added in my title. I can also move this into kind of 9 different positions, and all of this will be responsive, of course, on all different devices. We can change sort of the type of text here. We'll keep that as a H1 as is our starting section. If we highlight, we get a number of different options as well, and we can change the alignment independently for each line as well. So you get your title, a subtitle, and then a byline down here. You don't have to have a byline. You could change that to something like scroll down, or you could just leave that entirely blank. Then you can change the media by clicking over here. You can either add an image, a video, or a 3D image. So I'll add a video for this one, and I'll drag and drop this in from my desktop. Like so. So as you can see, I've prompted a warning that will come up here. So with the videos that you're adding into Shorthand, there is recommended sizes for all of the videos and images that you're adding in, which you can see here. You can also click the media guide at any time and you'll be able to see our recommendations here as well. So this one, the reason I'm getting this warning is because it's a little bit over that maximum. So if you do sort of see that warning, it's worth just maybe reducing the time or the size of the video that you're adding in. Now there is a lot of compression that Shorthand is doing in the background as well. So we are still compressing this video as much as we can, but if you do see that large file video detected or any other kind of warnings there, it's just an extra prompt that you might be able to adjust. With this one though, I know I've used this video a number of times. I know while it is a little bit large, it doesn't affect the overall load time of the story in terms of the other media I'm adding in here as well. When you add that video as well, you automatically get your fallback. It will give you the display of how it's going to look on widescreen versus tall screen, and you'll get the option to add in a caption as well. Now I can also edit my section options as well. So I get the ability to change the visibility here. So either have it on all devices, mobile or desktop only. I can also change the layout. Right now I'm in a full layout, but I can change it to a half width or either a text only layout if I don't have media at that point in the story. I can also change the height as well. So when we talk about the height, we're talking about the viewport of the device that the reader is going to be viewing the story on. So you can change it to full height, half height, or third height as well. You can also change the color. So at the moment, I'm operating with the shorthand modern theme. I could change this to the shorthand basic theme. So if you're on our starter plan, for example, you're going to see the basic kind of shorthand option themes that we have here. But if you're on a business plan or above, then what you'll be able to do is create your own branded theme. So you send us your fonts, colors, and logos by submitting a form to us in your onboarding process. We build that theme for you, and then it would actually appear in this drop down so you can apply it to all of the stories that you're working on, so that it's going to, for example, not have the shorthand logo here, it will have your logo. And you can make other changes. On the more lower plans, you can sort of make ad hoc changes as well. So, for example, you can manually add in a logo here as well. You can also manually change some of the colors. So this is setting it to light and dark. And then within this theme, it's going to give me a number of different colors for my text color and also my background color. But I can at any time select a color and or add a hex code in there as well. So there's lots of flexibility that you get. You can also change the overlay opacity. So I am going to make this a little bit darker so that the text stands out more. And then you can also change the overlay style. So we have these different kind of presets here. And then for some of these, you'll also see we have additional presets that we can add. So again, just giving you lots of flexibility on how you kind of style this. And it's always thinking about, how can I style this the best possible way? How can I make my assets work really hard, look really good within this web environment to deliver that maximum output for the content? You also have scroll effects here, so you can add them either for your text or background. So what I might do is just add a fade out on this one, and then I'll add a zoom out as well so we can see that too. We can also change the position. So right now, just in case you didn't see that, I'll bring that back up. It's in a sticks position. So the video or the image that there is going to essentially kind of stay in that position. And then if we change it to a scrolls position, it will actually kind of scroll away as we move out of that section. So I'll change that to sticks. I'll also um, take maybe change that to a fade out. I think the zoom is a bit jarring with the drone video, so I'll put that as a fade so you can see that there. So there's so much that you can do with those section options, and it's very easy to apply them. So next up is your text section. So you can either have a column of text on the left, the middle, or the right-hand side. You can also make these columns wider if you'd like to. We'll take that back. And you can also add a column as well. So you can have a two text column on wide screens, and then on mobile, this will be stacked. So this column will come first, and then this column will come after. We can change that very easily. You'll also see you can switch it to a Scrollmation column here at this time, but because we'll speak about this section a little bit later on, I won't do that until later. So with the text column, when you're editing this, just delete the text that's already there and then add in your own. You can type directly into shorthand, or of course, what you may want to do is copy and paste your text from maybe a Word document or a Google document, maybe however you're working with your team, and then you can style it here. So lots of different styling that you get. I'm just going to copy this draft text as well and just make this a little bit longer so we can just see how this all works. We could also add a maybe drop cap to start here. And then every time you add a paragraph break, you can also add either inline images or features. Um, and you can also change the styling as well. So you get sort of different things like you can add in, for example, pull quotes, bullet points. You can also add in things like indents and breakouts as well. So lots of different ways to style your text to make that stand out. Also with the theme as well, we'll kind of see things look a little bit different when we swap over the theme as well. So, for example, in this theme, this breakout does look a little bit different. We can see that the font has changed now as well. So with your theme, just imagine sort of, what that could look like there. Or if you've already got a theme, you might see some differences in how this looks already. So you can have your pull quotes, your breakout styled in a particular way to match your brand, so that every time you create a story, it's going to look exactly how you want it. And then also, you, of course, always get the ability to change things on an ad hoc fashion as well. So let's just create a couple more paragraph breaks in here, and then I'll show you some of the other inline features that you get. So you get a number of options here that you can add. So first you get an image, you can add a video here or a rich embed. So the image will look like this. The video will be what we call a foreground video. So this will be autoplay, looping, and muted as well. Sorry, I said that completely the wrong way around. So the video here is background video and it's autoplay, looping, and muted. This video is foreground, so the reader will need to click and play that video and engage with it. Then we also get rich embeds in here as well. So for an example, you could easily add in YouTube videos into here, or Vimeo, for example, SoundCloud. You could add like Spotify playlists in there as well. So if you're already using third-party tools, this is a great way to quickly inject them into Shorthand. So I'm just going to put in a video about skiing in there uh, so that we can see that. With the images as well, I'm just going to add an image from our media library in here. So that is me using our free royalty-free image service, Unsplash. And as you can see, when we do this, it does add the caption by default. It also adds the alt text as well, because that alt text has already been populated within Unsplash. So this is important for accessibility. Now, if you would like more information on accessibility, we do have an accessibility checklist within our support documents as well. So I'll show you that in a moment. And there's a number of things that Shorthand does in the background to make sure that these stories are going to meet accessibility guidelines on the web. But there are, of course, a number of things that you as the content creator will have to think about. And one of those things is adding alt text to your own images as you're adding those in as well. You can also add a link to these as well if you want that to be a call out. You can very easily change the size of these images. You can also change the shape of them as well. So there's a couple of different presets that you get here, and you can apply that to the whole section as well. We also have corners, so you can change sort of, the look and feel of the corners of these images as well. And we do have custom as well. So you could, for example, just have the corner on, perhaps sort of one side of the image there. You can't see that as much with that image actually because of the sun. So let's just switch that up and then maybe have it on the bottom here, like so you can see that a little bit more. Yeah, as you can see, you can style those corners, and then when you're building other sections such as the grids and the gallery, you can kind of style those in a very similar way as well. And if you want any of the styling kind of built into your theme, you can also do that too. A couple of other options, and spend a little bit of time in here just because the text columns are the same across all of the sections. So once you've learned this bit, then you can kind of replicate this elsewhere in other sections as well. So you get the ability to insert a button in here. You can change the color of that, and you can also change the size of that button as well. Click to edit, and then you can have sort of find out more. And then you could have this going to a link here and then open a new window. You always want to be selecting open new window within the middle of the story as well, so you're not directing traffic away from the story too early on. But obviously, if you do want people to move off the page at that time, then you would leave that unclicked. Um, you can also add in dividers. So these can actually provide a nice accent underneath things like titles. You might want to have that under a title or a way to kind of split the text at one point. Actually, if we look at the shorthand blue theme as standard in the styling of this, we have this like block line under the H2 as standard. So just a kind of a few different ways you can do things there. Um, you can also add in tables as well. So tables, this might be for numerical data or this might be product information. You can add a mixture of text and images into these tables as well. And you can very easily remove them like so. And then two more things before we move on. Um, you can at any point split a section. So let's, for example, just split out this here. So we split that to a new section, and I'll come on to that in a minute. So once you've split that out, you could then move that around. You could also change it into another section as well. So just as you're building the story, if you kind of decide that you want a little bit of a different flow to it, then you can very easily do that. And the last thing that we see here, which will be available on the higher plans, is custom HTML. So this would be a way to add in maybe your own custom code. So maybe a custom form or a newsletter sign up, something that maybe you're already using on your site, or a third party tool that doesn't have link sharing capabilities. So something that's maybe not as mainstream as YouTube or Flourish or other tools that are out there that you might be using. Okay, last up, you get section options, a bit more simple on here. You just get the visibility and then you get the change to light and dark as well. Then we'll go to our little button that we split off. So at any time you can change a section type as well. So we can change this section type into our next section, which is the text over media section. And then as we can see, that has now changed. We've got our button in there, and then we can change the image of this. So I might add a 3D image at this point just to show you how that looks with our media gallery. And with the 3D image as well, what it's doing is uh, it will take a few minutes to generate, and then I'll show you how it works. Just looking for an image that I think will work nicely to show you the way that you can kind of like tuck text behind the elements within the image here. Let's try this mountain. There's quite a clear line here. So that will just take a little bit of time to generate. I'll leave that processing and I'll come back to that. I will delete my button. And then just while that's working, we'll go through to the background scrollmation. So with the background scrollmation, you get a column of text either on the sort of the left, the middle, or the right hand side, really depending on where the focal point of your image or images is going to be. And then as you scroll through, the images will change. So this section is really fantastic for flipbook animation. And what it does is it does divide up the content that you have in this column by the number of images you have. You can't sort of like control the point at which the images change, because this will be slightly different on all different devices. So what you sort of need to think about is it's really good for flipbook animation, but it's also good for a gallery effect as well. Not as effective as if you're looking for a changeover of image at a particular point of text. The reveal section is far more powerful for that, and I'll show you that shortly. Now, I've just taken out the majority of the text here just to show you sort of how more quickly that changes and sort of how that doesn't actually work necessarily as well. And then in here we can see we've got um, three different sections, or three different images in there, I should say, in this section, and those images are changing as we scroll through. So what I'll do is I will delete these images, and this time I'll add in my own, just so that you can see them. And I'm just dragging and dropping these in from my desktop. Now you can see these are all loading. I can click done though, and then come into here and continue to edit. What I can see immediately is the kind of the focal point of this. The images that I've added in are on the left-hand side, so I need to switch that. Also, what I might want to consider is maybe making this this column a little bit smaller as well in order to kind of see those images. And then what I can see is I scroll through, or give me a little indication of the kind of animation effect that I've created there. Now, an interesting point about this is just some screen grabs from a video that has been taken, and the camera angle actually changes on this. So if the camera was to stay still during this effect would be more effective in this way. But because that camera angle does change, it kind of it moves the whole thing. So it's just an interesting point, just to say when you're capturing the video for this type of thing, it might be worth kind of thinking about that sort of thing as well, if you are capturing your own video. With this section as well, you get visibility, the dark and light again, the overlay. So you can take that to completely, 0% opacity. But obviously, what's going to happen then is if there's very busy images within the background, that's going to be very hard for the readers to read them. It's also going to present a problem from an accessibility point of view as well. So you just want to think about that opacity and how that's working with the images or image that you have in the background too. You can also add a text fade in, which I'll show you when I take this out to preview how that works. And you can, if it's going to be suitable, add a transition in between the images themselves. Now, because I've created a flipbook animation, then the transition between the images isn't really going to work here, because I actually want that really fast changeover of the images. That's what's going to kind of power that flipback animation effect. But if you are, maybe having just two images in the background, there's a bit more of a gallery, you provide a bit of an accent to the text that's in the foreground, then that would work really nicely for that. Okay, just jumping up now to our 3D image. So as we can see, that has been generated, and I'm just going to do it like this instead, a bit more subtly. So you can kind of see how this is now 3D. We can see some of those elements kind of moving as we go through the story. And then if I add text firstly, and let's just change this. It's still got that styling from here as well. So let's change that. We will need to change the opacity of this as well to make it stand out more. But we can nestle the text behind elements within the image as well. And what's quite nice is if you change the height as well of this section, it just means you get more movement within this section. So you sort of hide that text and have it coming out of the mountains as you scroll through. Now, the 3D image, you can either add the image from the media library, or you can add in your own photographs that you've taken as well. So you are adding a flat normal image into this section, following the guidelines here. So this is the recommended size for the 3D image. And then what Shorthand is doing is um, it's turning this into a 3D image for you. So that is the way that it's working. So we've done a little bit on this story. Let's take it out to preview now and see how it's looking. So a preview is going to give you the best indication of how the story is going to look when it's published. So if we just take this out to full preview here, we can scroll through the story and we can see, how that's going to look when it's published to a live environment. You do get a couple of other options when you're building the story as well. So you can also see how it's going to look on phone and kind of scroll through this. And I'll go through this a few more times today to show you how that looks as well. You can also rotate to see how it's going to look here, and then switch to the tablet or the desktop view very easily. Now, if I go back to that mobile view for a second, you'll see that we have a little QR code down here that you can scan to see how that is looking on mobile. If you've got your mobile to hand, please feel free to scan that QR code now so you can scroll through this on your mobile as we do the training as well. So I'll leave it there just for a second. Okay, and then I'll go back to the editor, get rid of those. I'll also show you when you're building this story as well. You can share this with yourself via email, maybe a colleague. You can also share via SMS as well. And you can access that QR code again from here as well. So yeah, lots of different ways to test how this is going to look on different devices when you're building it, and it and it's a really great way just to check that it's working how you want it to do for your audience. Now, speaking about that mobile experience, I will also talk you through the Scrollmation section now, and then I'll talk you through a little bit about Scrollmation and background Scrollmation and where you might want to use the two across kind of different devices. Apologies, I seem to be struggling with my words today. I hope it's not too distracting. So the scrollmation section is where you can have one column of text and another column within which sits your image or your images. And much like the background scrollmation, when you scroll through, the images are going to change. And we have more of a kind of a data visualization example here to show you how this section can be used. Now, this section does work a little bit differently on mobile if we compare it to the background scrollmation. So actually, this is a good point for me to show you a couple of other features. So I'm just going to click these little tick boxes up the top here. And then you'll see that I'm starting to build a story navigation. So I'm just going to title these the sections that they are. So this is a text section. This is our text over media section. This is our background scrollmation section. Let me just add my B, which I seem to have forgot. And then this is our scrollmation section here. So if I take this out to phone, I'll just call out a few differences here. So on desktop, let's look at that full preview instead. Sorry, let me just take that out to preview once more. So I'm just going to give Shorthand a little bit of a forced refresh because it seems to not be picking up some of the changes that I've made. So I just want to make sure that that's coming through. Yeah, it's not picked up the scrollmation section there. I'll just re-add that in. I'll log that with our developers after the session today. I'm not sure if they're running an update right now, but let's give that another preview and just see if it's coming through. There we go. Okay, let me just do that. So I'll just add these back in again. Apologies. Hopefully I smell them all correctly this time, because it'll be painful making watching me put it in twice. There we go. So now we've got our Scrollmation in here. Okay. So let's try that again. So take it out to preview, and I'll take it to this full preview, and we'll see that we've now got that story navigation at the top, which will allow the reader to kind of bounce to different parts of the story that they're most interested in. And for today, also, it gives me a brilliant way to show you how this works differently on mobile. You get a burger nav rather than a nav across the top as well. So let's talk a little bit about background scrollmation and how this looks on mobile. So with this section, the text is actually going to come over the top of the image, and then the images are going to change within the background. But obviously I've chosen quite a dark opacity there, so I'm not really seeing that change over. So I might look to reduce that. Um, let's see how that looks. I'm not going to take it out to preview again. I'm just going to refresh that link, which you can do to introduce that change. So now that is a little bit more sort of transparency through, but the effect is not going to be as kind of noticeable as it is in desktop. So take it back to mobile. And then with the Scrollmation section, what happens with this section on mobile is it's stacked. So the images appear at the top of the screen and they change over while the text is scrolling at the bottom of the screen. So that that sort of effect is much more visible on that particular device. There is one other layout option that you get with the Scrollmation section on mobile, and that's so every time you add a paragraph break, you'll see one extra option within this section only, which is to insert a Scrollmation image in line. So if we take a look at what that has done now, if we just go down to the Scrollmation section, we'll now see that we have text and then the image in line, and then the rest of the text follows. So you can kind of change sort of how that looks. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to take that out. I am going to add in the same images that I've added into the background Scrollmation, just to show you the difference there and sort of how that works. And so I'm not sort of saying that you'll do this every time, but I think this is a really useful sort of time to show you the visibility aspect and where you might employ that. So what you might find is that in some instances, you might want to have a background scrollmation on your desktop, and then you might want to have maybe a scrollmation section on your portrait screens instead. So it gives you really just a quick and easy way to tailor that experience for devices. And of course, you do get this across all the sections as well. You can add a different video for widescreen versus tall screen. You can tailor that experience all throughout, just because the background scrollmation and scrollmation section work very differently on mobile and desktop. It just gives you another way to tailor that experience. So let's take this out to phone. You'll see if on here now we've just got that Scrollmation section with the image at the top. And then if we take this out to the desktop version, then we've now got that background Scrollmation there, so we can kind of tailor that experience. Lovely. And just going to just change this to dark as well. And then on the Scrollmation section, you get the visibility, which we've of course looked at, and then you get the light and dark as well, or you can change all of those colors. Next up is the reveal section. So this is where you can have full screen images, one after the other, and you can have a transition between them. So with our default example here, we've got 3 images that we've manipulated outside of shorthand. We've added the red sky and the lanterns here. and then we add in sort of the full color on that third image. So just to dissect that, what you've got is a black and white image, partially in color image, and then the full color image to give you that kind of step change within the images. Now I'll just delete these images and I'll show you a way to make that kind of effect, but solely using just shorthand for this. So again, I'll use a mountain image for this, and I'll use Snow Mountain. So we want like quite a nice vibrant image for this. So let's go for this one. And then what I'm going to do is copy this image. So I'll do that again. I realized I did that quite quickly. I'm just going to copy that image so we have that image twice. I can still work on this while it's uploading as well. So I'll go into the image, and as you can see, you get that widescreen and tool screen view again. So I can see how this is going to look and work on different devices. Now I'm going to take a look at the filters here. So I can apply a number of preset filters, and I'm going to apply this black and white one here. I can also change the strength of this as well. If I take it all the way down, it goes very dark. So I'll leave it around 70%. I can also create a custom filter as well using either a hex cut color or a color picker here. So I've changed that image. And then what I'm going to do is change my transition in between. So for transitions, I can choose no transition, so it very quickly changes. I can choose fade, down, up, left, or right. And these directional ones are really great when you're creating those kind of map walkthroughs or kind of drawing on information like we saw in some of the examples that I showed at the beginning of the session. We'll go for a fade on this one though, and click done on that. And then we can see that's going to fade in that bright, vibrant color on that. And then I'll just add this as reveal one. I am going to add an additional reveal section, which is more of a data visualization example that has been, the graphics have been built outside Shorthand and then plugged in. So let me add this in. I'll also delete these and I'll add these in. Bear with me. Okay, just to show you what I've got kind of one image of the mountains, another image that's slightly darkened, an image with one line of data, and an image with the line of data that I had in that first image of the data, but then a secondary line as well. And then what I want to do is I'm sort of introducing the subject, and then I'm giving the data, and at the end I'm going to give a little summary of the data that I've shown the audience. So I'm going to fade from this image to this image, so I'll leave that as is. And then what I want to do is have a transition, and we'll kind of look at the different directional ones together to make sure we've chosen the right one. We've got the fade, and then, oh, we're drawing that from the wrong side. So we'll change that to right, so it comes in from the right. And then same for this one, we'll want it coming from the same direction. So like so, and like so. Then I just need to add my kind of supporting text. So I want my supporting text in this second box here. So I've got some text that I'm just going to copy and paste from my desktop. And this is fictitious data, by the way, I should add, that I've made up about snowfall in major global ski resorts. So just going to make that a bit bigger. might italize that and bring it to the center as well. I can make this larger or smaller like so as well. I'm pretty happy with that size though, so I'll leave it like that. And then we'll have the data coming in, and then I'll conclude with a little kind of fact box about what the data tells us, which in this case is just kind of demo language there. So I'll change this to a H4, and perhaps I'll centralize that as well. I won't do it with that text, so I'll leave that like so. And then I might want to, and add sort of lines in here as well to make that stand out a little bit more. I can, bold, italicize, underline, etc. But that is my reveal. And then what I'm going to do is just name that reveal 2, and I'll take that out to preview so that we can see how that looks. So there we go, data visualization in the reveal. And then we can change the section options in here as well. So we get the visibility. We also get the addition of changing the colors. So this relates to the text boxes that we're adding in. So we can change those. And then the opacity of those text boxes as well. So same with the background scrollmation, we'll just need to think about accessibility there and kind of the color contrast that we're choosing as well. So next up is the grid section, and this is where you can add either images or just images or just text or a mixture of the two to kind of feature and different items in blocks. And those items could be a number of different things. It might be profiles of people, it could be products, it's contact details, lots of different things that you could use this for. But sort of how it works is you get up to 4 columns, and then you can add additional rows. And every time you add a new row, it will just replicate what you've got on that existing row. But you can manipulate this. So, for example, we could delete this cell, delete this cell until we've got 2 there, and then 4 underneath. So perhaps if you wanted to have maybe sort of different features, maybe the 2 first features are more important than the next 4. You want those to stand out more. You can sort of tailor that again, whichever way you would like to. I'll actually use this opportunity now to show you some of our alternate styles that are in here. So we have synced media, we have different text options, different heading options, and tables and grids as well. So this is a really great way to use these. One of the things I mentioned is perhaps adding your sort of profiles in here, so you could have maybe contact details in there. Another example might be kind of like shaped grid. So this is more of a product example, but we can see how those corners have been utilized to kind of create a nice feature of the shoes there. And then of course what you could do is you could add captions and alt text and links as well to these, and links being the most important call out there from how you're building the narrative is you might then want to have people kind of linking out to those different products. So I'll just add that in. And then the next section I'll show you is scroll points. So this is where you can have one image and then scroll to different points of interest on that image. So what I'm going to do straight away is change the image that we've got in here. So I'm just going to drag and drop a new image in here, and this is going back to that ski theme. Now there are some default scroll points in here, so I'll just want to delete these so I can start completely from scratch. So with the scroll points, I firstly have my kind of starting point so I can be sort of zoomed out here. or I can start in here. So what I might do is start here, and I won't have any text for that first part of the image there. And then what I'll do is add, apologies, I'll add another scroll point, and then select my first kind of point of interest on this image, which is going to be over here. Now I can either choose a solid outline, I can have an outline that kind of draws around, it animates, a dashed one, or flashing, or I can have none, and I'm going to choose none. If I do have this, I can also choose a label as well. So you can choose a label here. But for this example, I'm going to take that off. You can also choose to have a marker. This is really good for if you're using it for kind of geographical point of importance. And you can have another label there as well. And I'm going to take that off. You can also darken the surround to make that really stand out. But for this one, I'm keeping it pretty simple, and I'm going to pull that off there. So what I'm really trying to do is just show you sort of, with one example how this could be used while showing you all of the different options as well. I'm just tailoring kind of my central point of this a little bit more. As you can see, it's a little bit trial and error, sort of where you put this, and you get these snap points as well, like to make sure that it's going to look how you want it. Basically, what I wanted to avoid there was the gap at the edge. I wanted to ensure that we were, sort of fully in that image. And then I'll add my text. Then I'll add my next scroll point and draw it. So it's going to be sort of around the middle here. And again, I'm just going to opt for none. I'm not going to use any of those other additional effects. I will use the guide there for the snap points, and I'm happy with that. And then my next scroll point, I'm going to add it here. Take that out, about there, and then add my text there. There we go. And if I scroll back, so we start with the zoomed out image. We don't have to have that. We could remove that. And by the way, you'll notice the text boxes are flashing up all the time. Of course, I'm in the editor right now, so it's going to give me all of the different ways that I can edit this. When I take it out to preview though, it's not going to give the indication that there sort of is missing text or anything like that there. It's going to give the correct experience that we want to give to the reader. So zoomed out, then we zoom in on the jump, the start of the jump, then the middle, and then the end. So obviously it's quite a simple example, but hopefully it gives you a good indication of, sort of how you could use it and how it could work for any image. Now I've just taken an image there that I've got, and plugged that in and made it work well. We do also have, I'll show you the styles again. So this has been a really popular use of the scroll point section, and that is maps. They are a really great use of the scroll point. So let's add the maps and show you kind of a secondary use case of scroll points. And this actually is a really useful one. Like many of the alternate styles, it comes with a bit of a tutorial on how you can use it and actually style it to make it your own as well. So if you just follow the guides here, it will direct you down to the section options. And then you can change the color. So we're looking for this color down here that we can change. And we might want to change it to gray, for example, and then we can make that work. And then it's going to have some pre-selected points of interest for us. But then what we can do is we can edit these and move these around and make this our own. So you could either use the maps that we've got in here if they are suitable, or of course you could use your own map or design your own map to work in this context as well. So these are just great little examples that could provide you as with a starting point to use this feature. And it's been a very popular use case with the scroll points. Um, is that geographical kind of importance or points of interest there? Okay, next up is the media gallery. So this is where you can have videos and images in the gallery style, and you can choose kind of different ways to style these as well. So I'll just add a few images and videos, and then I'll talk you through some of the different styling. So there we go. I've added in my media, so that's just processing. You'll note that when I'm adding these in as well, I get the caption, alt text, and links again. I also get the focal point as well and the widescreen tool screen. So for this one, I've added in a portrait here. So I will just want to kind of reset that focal point just to make sure it's focused on the person within the image because that was just slightly out there. And then I'll just remove that. So we've just got these images in here. So again, you can have up to 4 images kind of per row here. Um, and you can kind of choose the different sizes of these if you remain with this layout as well. So you can select here if you go for small, medium, or large, and then that is going to have a knock-on effect on the other images that are featuring within the gallery section as well. And if you go to the section options here, again, you get the visibility, you also get that light and dark, and then you get the style as well. So you can either choose a carousel or you can choose the gallery effect, and then you can use the change the size of this as well. So we have expand on click. You can either have that on or off as well. So what I'll do is I'll take this up to preview and just show you some of those different examples in action, so you can kind of think about how you might be able to use it for your stories and how it's going to work. So we'll keep this option first, and then we'll have a little look at that. Just waiting for the media to process. It's for just this video taking a few more minutes as well. I'll add my next section just while I'm waiting for that to load, which is the media section. And maybe I'll talk you through that while that loads, just in the interest of time. So media section is where you can have either an image, a video, or a rich embed. So this, you're going to have an image that will be not cropped on any screen, a video, which is going to be a foreground video. So the readers will need to click and play that video, or you can have a rich embed, which is going to be full screen. So with the image, you'll note that we say it's going to not be cropped on any device. So as we can see, we have this border that sits around the image. So let me take this out to preview to show you as well in a moment. Easier. Brilliant. Now that has loaded, I'll take this out. So let's just scroll down to the media section, and then we'll come back to the gallery in a moment. So the media section has this border on the outside of it. And what's going to happen is this section is going to retain its aspect ratio across all different devices. Now, this behavior is a little bit different from some of the other section types that we've been looking at today. Most notably, the title section the text over media, the background scrollmation, and the reveal are all full screen sections. So what that means is the imagery or the videos that we're adding in will completely fill the screen. And there's a little kind of adaptation that has to happen in order to maintain that responsiveness and behavior that we need to be aware of on different devices. So with this section, what we'll see is if we just kind of force change the device size, which obviously I'm just doing by just using the arrows like on my browser here, just by making that smaller, sort of replicating the mobile view here. But as you can see, actually, what I'm seeing in that video is changing. So we can control this through by setting the focus point of the video on both widescreen and tool screen. We can control this as well by adding different images or different videos for widescreen versus tool screen. So with this one, I wouldn't need to do that because the intention of this video is just to provide a bit of atmosphere in the background. It's kind of introducing this um, uh, story, but with the drone video of the mountains. But there's no kind of critical information here that's going to get cut off for the reader to digest or read. If I go to my reveal section that I made with my line data, we'll see is a little bit different for this data visualization. So I've added the widescreen in here, and the tool screen version of this isn't going to actually work by default. So what I would need to do, as I can't really adjust the focal point to make this work, is I would need to add a separate image for the tool screen, which is very easily done. It's just changing the, sort of the recommended size here and making sure that that line is contained within that. So it will just be changing this image, which I've already built independently of Shorthand anyway, to the size recommendations and putting that in. On top of that, what you also see is the approximate safe area guideline that sits around the outside as well, so that dotted area. So that's showing you everything that's going to be safe from getting potentially cut off from maybe some different device sizes. And this is a downloadable overlay, which is in our support documents as well. So actually, let me show you from here, as I've not opened this up just yet. If I go into here, safe area guides. So if you are building any sort of custom images yourself, it's really useful to have these downloaded, and then you can use them in like Photoshop or Canva or whatever you might be using while you're building any designs independently of Shorthand as well. Great, now back to that gallery. So let's look at how this gallery looks. So let's just go down to the gallery. So we've got our gallery in here, and just going to give this a little refresh. So we've got our images. As you can see in this layout, we get this little zoom on hover, and then we've got the click to enlarge enabled, so we can scroll through those. And then this one's a video, so we can click to play that video as well. Now, if we go to the section options and we change it to a carousel, we don't need to take it out to preview again. We can just always just give this a refresh and it will show us what's there now. And now we can see we've got this gallery effect, which the reader can scroll through. And this is going to autoplay as well. Great. So I will show you the collection section in a moment. Before I do, because I have to go out of the editor and go back into the dashboard to show you that, I'll just talk you through a couple of other things that we've not looked at yet. So as you can see, you can add a section at any point in the story. You can also move sections around very easily. You can copy a section to the current story. This is particularly useful if maybe you have a particular design that you want to use for all of your, let's say, kind of chapter heads or your dividers within the story. Then you can kind of replicate that very easily each time. You can also copy to a section template. And then when you go to add a new section, your saved sections will appear in here. So as you can see, for example, I have like a little uh, sort of what would you call it? A little info about me when I run the webinars that I add to a lot of the stories that I do. And then this is more of like a beautiful, simple storytelling. It's Shorthand's tagline. So that is something that I often add to the webinar pieces that I'm creating as well. So if you have anything like that, CTAs, any kind of sections that you're going to be creating repeatedly, you can add it as a save section type to use it again and again. Also, it's really easy and it's a huge part of shorthand is collaborating with team members, which is really easy to do. So I can add, for example, my colleague Paul to this story as an editor. It adds him in this view as an editor by default, so he can go into the story and he can make changes on this. I can also make him a viewer, which means he can take it out to preview, but he won't be able to edit the story. And I can also transfer ownership of the story to him. That might be useful if I'm no longer working on a story, or maybe if I'm leaving the organization. If I remove Paul again, there's another way we can add other people into our stories, and that's if we're kind of looking to directly collaborate in the story. So you can comment on particular parts of the story, like a piece of text, and then I could at my colleague. As I can see, he's not an editor in here, so then that will ask me to invite him to the story, and then I can add him, and then I can leave some comments for him on this, such as maybe changing the images and things. And then we can resolve this comment when it's resolved too. You can also access some of these settings from within the dashboard as well. So in here, we have the drop down, we can edit, preview, promote is for after you've published the story. We can change the collaborators from here, so I can remove Paul from here as well. I can add tags to my story. So, in terms of dashboard kind of hygiene, I might want to set up a number of different maybe tags in here that I'm using for my stories and then tag them up accordingly. For this one, for example, I might call this training because it's a training story. And then I can very easily filter and look at all of my training stories by tag. Next up, we have resources. So you can add all of the links, different resources that you've maybe are relevant to the story that you're working on. That's really useful for that collaboration piece. Maybe if other people need to see that there. And then finally, you can copy a whole story if you'd like to use that maybe as a kind of internal template for yourself or your team. Maybe you have a monthly newsletter or something of the like that you want to use repeatedly each month. And then you can delete the story too. Now, a little bit about collections. So, collections are a way to have images and links out to either other shorthand stories or maybe more so to kind of independent external links. So, you for this give it a name, you add a title, a description, a URL, and a link. You also need to decide whether you want to have open in new window on or off. Um, and I've just got a couple of ski holiday ideas here. So if I go back into my story, I can then add my collection section as a collection section in here. So I can have that going out as a little call to action at the end of my story. There is another option as well. We also have projects. So with projects, you can essentially thread multiple stories together as a multi-site project. So, for example, if that ski story was going to be one story of maybe 10 about skiing, then I might want to choose a project. Again, when you're creating a project, you'll be met with either the option to create a blank project and like start completely from scratch, like we did with our story, or you have a number of templates. So we could use it for an event guide, annual report. You may recognize that one of those stories. This is what we looked at earlier. Um, but sort of the about us page is one aspect of it. Product catalog, ebook, and so on. So we have a number of customers that are using this for newsletters, guides, microsites, event sites. Again, there's a lot of use cases there. This instructional guide is really useful because it really talks you through all of the aspects that you need to be aware of when you're creating a project. Also, if I wanted to create a new project from scratch, what I might do is choose a blank project and then I can add in an existing story. So I could add in that ski story. And then I might decide, okay, this is going to be a landing page. And then I'm going to have three other stories that is going to connect to. And then I can work on each of those stories independently, like we did with our story today. And then we can publish that whole story or whole project, I should say, in one go. Now, when it comes to publishing, we haven't talked about that just yet. So I'll go over back to my original story um, and talk about publishing. So now I've added this to a project. I might decide actually, I might not want that kind of in the project. I want to show you how to publish one here. So I'm going to remove that from the project and go back to my original story just to talk you through publishing one story. So now I'm publishing one story rather than the project. So I've got the first way of publishing a shorthand story. This is available on the starter plan. And the way of publishing stories this way is through a shorthand hosting subdomain. So as you can see, I've got training.shorthandstories.com set up, which I can publish to immediately. Now, if you're using this publishing method, you can also custom mask your subdomain. So it could be something like your brand. Um, stories.yourbrand.com, so an extension of your existing website. This is shorthand hosting. We also have plugins for WordPress and Drupal. We also have zip export, and we also have S3 publishing and some other more custom integrations as well. So if that's something that you haven't set up yet, or you're not sure which is the best method for you, please have a conversation with us. We really can help guide you on what the best publishing option is going to be. But if you just at this point want a little bit more information and want to understand what the different publishing options are available, you can see a full list of those here. And there's also some information on which plans these relate to as well. Now, to finish up, when the story is published or when you're publishing the story, you want to think of a few things like, for example, the story settings. You might want to think about socials as well. You can turn on the social buttons as well, so it will encourage your audience to share it with their audience and make that story go further. As mentioned, we do have developer tools, so CSS, JavaScript, and the ability to add custom HTML. If you want to further customize your story, partner with us or maybe your internal web development team. And then when the story is published, we do also have some different ways to promote your story. So we have something called a story launcher. We also have a full story embed, and we have ways to create shareable content as well. So this will enable you to create a video, which you can then share on things like Facebook and LinkedIn and X. So that concludes everything that we tend to go through on these training sessions. Thank you for bearing with me today. I know that's quite a lot of information to take in, but I will now just have a look through and see if there are any questions to answer, which I think there's quite a few. So I know we're 2 minutes from time. I may stick around for an extra few minutes just to make sure I've answered all the questions. But actually, before I do that, I'll just pop contact details in as well into the chat box, just in case anyone has to dash off. So here are the contact details, and I'll just make my way through the questions. So first question, fonts. Can we use our branded fonts, or are we limited to web fonts? So you can use your own fonts. There with your own fonts, you will need to actually, let me just show you in here instead. So With your own fonts, you will need a custom branded theme for that. So that's where I mentioned you can send us your fonts, colors, logo, and we'll build a custom branded theme for you. And then that will appear in that drop down so you can inject your fonts. You can also add fonts with CSS as well in an ad hoc manner, but we would recommend having a brand theme just so that they're there and no one has to worry about adding code. So you do have to use web fonts, though. You have to use properly licensed web fonts for the web. So you need to have the permission to use those, and um, you will need to deliver those to our team within a web-friendly fashion. So that's usually a WOF format, or if they're hosted somewhere else like Google Fonts or something like that, we can also use those as well. Next question was, can we color bullet points? So you can add or change uh, text colors in like so. So you can highlight this and then change that. You can highlight sort of certain bits as well, and then change the colors there. Um, bullet points. Uh, bullet points. Let's just bring that up. You can't highlight the bullet point themselves, so you can't change the color of those. So you would have to change that, like that whole section. However, if you wanted set color bullet points within your branded theme, I'm sure that's something that we could explore as well. Tables, what is the max columns? Um, I don't know if we've got a max set on it. I know that internally we shorthand a lot for our internal presentations, and there we had a really big um, table that was shared with lots of columns. So I'm not sure what that maximum is. I might take that question away and ask our dev team. My question back would be always think about like how it looks, and that how the information is delivered. One thing I think, if you are adding a number of columns in, it obviously is going to squish the text down. It might look a little bit awkward on mobile as well. So that would be my like question back to you, is like think about the objective. Can we fix widows and orphans easily with shorthand? Yeah, shorthand is totally responsive. For example, with like title section, you have preset kind of places that you can move the text around to. So most of that will be taken care of within shorthand itself. Sometimes you may want to like just force a break in there so that you can control sort of how that's going to look in the styling. Other times you can just use the alignment to kind of handle that as well. Next up, scroll points. Can we customize the markers with a branded icon, for example? This is a really interesting question. This is something that we did talk about internally, but it's not something that has been released. I'll take this feedback to the team, though, and mention that it came up on a training session. Maps, do you have a UK map? So for the maps that we have, all of the maps we have are in here at the moment. Any other map that you need beyond that, you would need to find yourself. How can we delete a text box if needed? There's no need to delete any text box within shorthand. If you don't populate a text box, it won't show on the preview as we saw. So for example, I haven't populated the byline, and you can see there's no indication that there should be a text box there. So you don't need to delete any text boxes in shorthand. With Teams package, are we able to customize brand colors, fonts, etc.? So with the team plan, you do get the ability to use a very simple theme builder, which you can find out a bit more information here. I think it's on this page. So this gives you a little bit information about the theme builder. Sorry, I don't actually think that's the right one. It's this one. So this gives you a little bit of information about the theme builder. This gives you the ability to create a very basic theme. So you get a pre-selection of fonts. You can choose colors and sort of change that within there. Have a read through that. See if that gives you what you need. By all means, if you can't, if you need more information, then please let us know. Um, Thank you very much, those who are dropping off. Can I set the bullet pointed text option within the box format option? No, so that is an either or there. So there is, there's either a, a call out or bullet points. Sometimes I'd use things like dashes if I wanted to have bullet points in there, and kind of force those in. But I'll share that with the team as well. That's some good feedback. Will you be sharing the recording? Absolutely. I'll share this recording afterwards so that you can watch it within your own time. If anyone, I know we're over, if anyone does have any feedback about this session and how to improve it, please, please, please do let me know. I'm very much all ears on that. Yeah, please let me know if there's anything that you think of. And I think that's all of the questions now. There's just another question about the recording. So I'll send that afterwards. Thank you so much for you to everyone for coming today. I hope it's been useful. Um, Thank you for sticking around with me while I answer those questions as well. There were 3 other questions that we haven't got time to. I will include answers in my follow-up as well. But yeah, very conscious of your time. So thank you ever so much, everyone. And I'll follow up with you all shortly. So please continue the conversation with me if you'd like to. Okay, thank you so much, everyone. Take care. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye now.